and Marana mornings. Arizona Sports, the local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
First impressions will not matter if Marvin Harrison Jr. eventually follows his father into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but they couldn't have been worse in Arizona. A debut where Maserati Marv was more like Moped Marv, and that is because his top speed against the Bills was 16.7 miles per hour, and that is staggeringly slow by NFL standards. In fact, that speed ranks 1,699th out of 1,730 wide receivers since the beginning of the 2023 season. And remember, this is the same wide receiver who clocked out at 22.2 miles per hour on a touchdown against Youngstown State, a time that was faster than anybody in the NFL last season. So what gives? Clearly Marv is swimming. To run that slow is a sign of a young player who is locked up between the ears, a player who is really seeing real NFL speed and violence for the very first time. And maybe in their rush to see and sell a prized rookie to their fan base, Cardinals did not recognize his lack of comfort or readiness, because to their credit, most of the other Cardinals were crisp and sharp and ready for battle. So now the trick is for the coaching staff to get this prized rookie ready to be an impact player Sunday against the Rams, because there is no way this passing game or this group of wide receivers can elevate without that happening. Good news is Marv can only get better, and he certainly can't get any slower. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in college, a lot of the game plans defensively were taking me away. We had a lot of success at Ohio State, obviously, with running the ball and having different weapons to kind of still get the victories. And obviously, I continue to do a better job doing that.
Marvin Harrison Jr., the Arizona Cardinals, speaking with the media in front of his locker yesterday, talking about if there are games where the ball doesn't find him. And look, that does happen. It happens to the best receivers. There's a lot of people scrambling, doing research on, disappointing debuts. And you mentioned his Hall of Fame father, Marvin Harrison, who's, by the way, incidentally, his first NFL game was against the Arizona Cardinals, September 1st, 1996.
Wow.
6 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. It can happen.
There were any number of football pundits who had picked Marvin Harrison Jr. to have a huge breakout game in Week 1. That's how hyped this young player happened to be. Those speed numbers that I cited in the blast, as I said, as the analytics begin to pour out of Week 1 in Buffalo, I do think that when you look at what went down on that field and what went down on that second half and why Marvin Harrison Jr. did not get targeted, I think you can find your answer right there, because that number is indeed, by NFL standards, staggeringly slow. And we know he's not slow, and we don't think he's hurt. So what is it? Well, for a young player, we've heard the tale a million times from rookies who you can't play fast if you're thinking too much. And if you're thinking too much, you're not comfortable and you're not ready, because you haven't experienced it before. You can get on a soapbox, and I know a lot of Cardinals already have, and question the Cardinals' training camp methodology and what they did by putting him in bubble wrap. I had, in real time, understood the logic. I understood the idea that why would you expose a rookie this important to reps with a backup quarterback if you're not playing Kyler Murray? Then maybe in hindsight, the solution would have been limited reps with Kyler Murray to at least establish something with Marvin Harrison Jr. You can't go back and change that now. And to the Cardinals' credit, before people get too crazy with this, to their credit, most of the team was remarkably ready to play.
Yeah.
There were a lot of NFL offenses that were clunking around the yard in the first half on Sunday. That wasn't the Cardinals.
And for full games as well.
And for full games. But this wide receiver room, kind of questionable to begin with. We all love Mike Dortch. All of us.
We all love him.
We all love him.
It was a wide receiver room that they needed guys to step up essentially for the first time. They needed a rookie receiver to be a a wide receiver 1. They needed a rookie from last year to be a wide receiver 2, and they needed a role player guy to be a solid wide receiver 3.
Right.
So when you're asking all these wide receivers to sort of all step up, it's a lot to ask.
And it's one of the needs in which the Cardinals elected not to spend because they did have drafted players that they want to be those guys right here and now. Now, it's a little bit different than the D-line, and it's a little different than the cornerback room, but I do think if Marvin Harrison Jr. does need a long buildup, then this offense is really going to struggle. Because you're going to get teams that are just going to stack the box and all that kind of stuff. So
doesn't it seem like what they're saying, at least in the aftermath of the Buffalo game, that that's indeed the case? This is going to take some time, which to me
sounds
is
like it.
Highly disappointing.
Right, because you had time, and you chose not to use it in preseason games. And again, I'm not questioning that methodology. I've long been in that camp. Doesn't mean you don't question what you're doing. And I question what I'm doing all the time.
Whoops.
Yeah.
And the speed of how fast he ran in that game has to be affected by the routes that he ran. You know, like a straight, Hail Mary kind of route, you're obviously sprinting. If he ran a lot of short routes or ran a lot of like decoy routes, that'll impact how fast he was running, I would think.
Yeah, but
right?
I'm also curious because
But that's his top speed, Jerry.
yeah, the top
that isn't
speed,
a low speed. That's a top speed.
But the top speed numbers, I'm curious what other routes look like.
I don't.
You don't normally see the top speed clocked on a route because it's after the catch kind of stuff.
No, you're right. And it's kind of a false equivalency for me to mention that he was clocked at 22.2. That's with the ball in his hands racing to the end zone. Yeah. They're two different things. I grant that. Yeah. But I want to illustrate the big difference between those numbers. And so, look, I just think that this is a sign of a guy who's got a billion things going through his brain, trying to figure out what to do, and all that. And I'm just hoping it was just a bad debut because they do need him now.
Yeah.
They budgeted for him to be wide receiver 1 right now.
Kyler Murray talked about how much time does he think it'll take to develop a chemistry on the field with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Is that time something that is it like a short amount of time, a long amount of time? How do you kind of judge that, or is it?
No, I mean.
Or you gonna try it Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we want to get him more touches. That's not a secret, But I don't want to go forcing things for sure,
Yeah, so, I mean, when does that come into play, though? When do you take advantage of the physical skills of Marvin Harrison Jr.? It was a very patient approach to football, especially with number 18 involved from the Cardinals. I wonder how much patience runs out. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, you got this guy, you invested a number 4 pick on him, he's your future moving forward. Let's unwrap the gift a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some force feeding going on against the Rams. I wholly expect that because that there is a balance that you're going to have to find. If he's truly that great of a weapon, then he's the type of player that warrants that.
Yes.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.